Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Potts. I'm chair of Perkins Coie's Energy Group, co-chair, I should say, with Jane Rueger. And today I have with me John Penn, chair of the Bankruptcy Group at Perkins Coie, and Jane Rueger, my co-chair. We're here today as a second video to follow up and talk about the Texas energy crisis. We've had a lot of outreach about our first video. So we thought we'd do another one to quickly talk about the bankruptcies that are happening and the why those are happening and what issues might spin out of those bankruptcies. We've already seen a few companies file for bankruptcy, and we certainly expect to see more. So we hope this is helpful. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jane to sort of explain why we are where we are and why these bankruptcies are happening, and then John will chime in on some bankruptcy specific issues that everyone should know about. So with that, Jane.
Great, thank you, Brian. Yeah, so really we are kind of where we are as a backdrop that ERCOT is a nonprofit entity. It runs the electric markets in most of Texas, but it's essentially a clearinghouse. So you've got generators who are producing electricity and putting those into the market. You've got consumer-facing entities that are buying the electricity. All that happens through ERCOT, but it really doesn't have the reserves to deal with situations where a purchaser defaults on its payments, which then means that ERCOTs can't pay the generators who have produced in the market. Which can spiral out of control really quickly, particularly where you have situations like this, where you have extreme cold weather events resulting in scarcity level pricing, $9,000 a megawatt hour for many, many hours, and resulting in astronomical bills for those consumers, so the companies that are representing consumers in the market. We've already seen several high-profile bankruptcies. One that's been in the news, certainly Brazos Electric, having received a $2 billion electric bill, which was much more than they had ever received before, and filed for bankruptcy there, and a number of others that we've seen that are in similar positions with these sort of billion-dollar bills that are coming out of this event. There are signs that things are going to get worse before they get better. If parties default on amounts that they owe ERCOT, ERCOT has a process through which they will issue what they call default uplift invoices, which essentially socialize those costs that were not paid initially to all of the other queasies in the market. And so you can see how with these billion-dollar numbers that are happening here, those amounts themselves can be quite large and push others into being unable to pay or unwilling to pay those amounts. So, there are some legislative fixes that have been suggested in the Texas legislature. They haven't come through yet, and it's obviously uncertain where those are going to go. So we thought we would talk a little bit with John here on the bankruptcy front. He's a partner, as you said, in our Dallas office and a firm-wide chair of our bankruptcy and restructuring practice. So we thought we'd get some ideas on the bankruptcy side. So I'll turn it over to John.
Oh, thanks, Jane. Really, bankruptcy is good for a lot of different things. One of the main things is when you have a liquidity crunch, and that is that you can't meet the obligations and you need some time to spread it out. And that's what Chapter 11 does better than really most of anything else. The other thing that you get to look at is there's going to be a lot of ancillary litigation that erupts once the bankruptcies happen. So far, we haven't seen that yet in Brazos, but I expect there to be not only fights over the amount of the liabilities, but there can be some interesting bankruptcy causes of action that come out. Not the least of which is, I would not be surprised by a fraudulent transfer argument. And that is if there is a payment that is made within 2 years before bankruptcy is filed, and it's made at a time when the company is insolvent or is rendered insolvent by the payment, then there's a chance that that can be set aside. What a lot of people understand about a payment like that is can be a fraudulent conveyance. They forget that the other side of the statute is incurring a debt in that period of time can be a constructive fraudulent conveyance as well. And so if you have incurred a debt within 2 years before bankruptcy that renders you insolvent, and you did not get reasonably equivalent value for that debt incurrence, you might be able to set the debt aside. And so there could be some very interesting litigation that gets spun out in the bankruptcy. And then once the amount of the claims get determined, pay that out over time. So there's all kinds of traditional bankruptcy issues and some more intriguing aspects to come out. Another thing that you might see is lenders to the companies that will not want to fund any future obligations outside of a bankruptcy, because most folks have heard of debtor in possession financing. It provides a number of extra remedies, protections to lenders, et cetera, that a lender looking to support one of the companies might not want to grab a hold of a falling knife, and instead insist that they go into bankruptcy and then make a loan inside the bankruptcy to meet their ongoing operational liquidity needs while the claims get sorted out. And so could be the lenders to the companies that actually say, guys, we need protection. You've got to go into Chapter 11. So there's all kinds of ways that this can get triggered, all kinds of interesting things that can happen, traditional bankruptcy, some ancillary litigation. It's going to take a while to sort it out. And we'll just see what happens. But buckle up, it's going to get interesting.
Well, thanks, John, and thanks, Jane. Again, this is our second video on the Texas power crisis. If you're interested in watching our first video, which was about what happened and all the different potential legal ramifications that could come out of it, you can find it on our LinkedIn page for Perkins Coie's Energy Group. And thanks again, John and Jane, and please keep an eye on our LinkedIn page, because we may have additional videos following up on some additional issues. So certainly the Texas power crisis affected millions and millions of people, and this is going to be going on for a while, as John said. So thank you.